Doom 3 is unlike any game you've ever played before, except for the fact it's like a lot of games you've probably played. Tell me if you heard this one before. You go down the hallway, you shoot the demon, you pick up the keycard, you open the door with the keycard, and you repeat ad infinitum. Even upon its release in late 2004, the game was derivative, and far from pushing any new ground beyond its impressive graphics. But this is what you expect from a developer that have always been about making games and new engines that strive on shooting and little else. The question for Doom 3 then is the core gameplay fun enough to merit any attention in a post-Half-Life 2 era of first-person shooters?
Who's there? Oh, thank God. You're not one of them. I thought everyone else was gone. I was part of this. I helped them. The madness of opening to another dimension. Look, we don't have much time. We let it through. The evil, the protective stabilizer on the portal just failed after Betruger took the device. It was an artifact we had found in the ruins. He took it into the portal, and hell followed him out.
Doom 3's design is just rotted to the core, and nowhere is this more apparent than the game's story. The game's story is so pedestrian that you probably spotted it walking across the street last week. I'll sum it up in a sentence. Man goes to Mars, and evil demons spew out evil artifacts from evil hell. The rest you could probably fill in with your own imagination, so long as you've seen more than 3 B horror films in your lifetime. Although the game starts with a rather impressive Half-Life sort of intro where you walk through the base, and the game fills you with backstory as you play, through audio logs reminiscent of PC titles like System Shock 2, the game's plot and pacing never really is justified by these attempts at storytelling. This all leads me to the game's biggest problem, which is a problem that has long since plagued the company since the days of John Romero. Back when Quake 2 was in production, John Romero was pushing hard for id Software to make a game supported by a plot that supports the action, rather than just serves as a forgettable backstory that's presented as a text screen when you start the game up, which is how the game eventually turned out. Despite Romero's best intentions, Carmack was the brains behind the company who made the engines, and he was the one to dictate where the games would be heading. Where that was the Quake franchise in 1998, I can't help but see there being a similar conflict going on in this title. The design often rings false. For example, the game is a classic shooter with some of the most well-balanced weapons and enemies to grace any FPS I've played. In this sense, the game relies on nothing but the player's competence at aiming and moving. Yet even when the player is playing to the best of his ability, he will often need to hit the quick load key. Not because he accidentally fired a rocket at a Cacodemon demon standing right in front of him, but because the game is stuffed full of these so-called monster closets, and spawn an enemy unexpectedly who gets the drop on you before you even see it coming. It's like the distant cousin of a QuickTime event, because you'll often get your ass handed to you and need to quick load back to your last save because of it. Yet, what was the player supposed to do? id Software have said time and time again that this is the Doom series reimagined. I can understand how these monster closets add to the scare factor, but it is counterintuitive to the rest of the game. This isn't the only evidence of there being a rift in the game's design. As you progress in the game, you get to bigger, more open areas that offer a pure, fluid, first-person shooter experience, more akin to Doom and Doom 2. Needless to say, these are the highlight of the game, yet they couldn't be more opposing to everything that came before it. Which raises the question, why didn't they just make the entire game on this blueprint? You know, the Doom blueprint that garnered the game a huge fanbase a decade ago? My point is that Doom 3 just reeks of a certain sense of corporate calculation, which I blame on John Carmack's stubbornness to embrace anything new that can't be conceived in zeros and ones. You can just see him in his office saying, "Hey, people love this Half-Life game. Oh my god, let's do some of this scripted event stuff. And these System Shock 2 reviews are off the charts. People must love audio logs. No, people don't fucking love audio logs. People love games that offer an immersive and fluid experience, which Doom 3 sadly isn't.
This is the audio log of Medical Supervisor Peter Raleigh, dated October 29th, 2145. We have exhausted all known forms of drug treatment in hopes of finding a way to abate this strange outbreak.
For all the shit I talk about the game, I went into Doom 3 expecting very little and came out having played one of the most competent shooters I've played in recent years. Despite all my bitching, the game is expertly designed when you take out all the previously listed complaints. I can't think of another shooter where I found myself using every single weapon until the last boss, which I attribute to smart enemy design. The levels, while redundant, they really take advantage of the game's graphic engine, and really put the player in some of the most terrifying situations you can imagine, leading to a handful of memorable scares. It also must be said, the game's graphic engine might be a little dated by now, but the animation and sound design will forever remain timeless and prime examples for games to come. Doom 3 starts off as a Half-Life wannabe, but eventually becomes the Doom you remember, with chaotic action mixed with a goofy B-movie atmosphere. Hell, you even find emails in the tail end of the game with really lame in-jokes, which makes me wonder, why didn't id Software just make the game that they obviously wanted to make, rather than trying to appease both their old fanbase and what they perceived the critics wanted in 2004? Despite all the game's faults though, Doom 3 is a very solid shooter that may overstay its welcome at a lengthy 15 plus hours of gameplay, but the production quality and refined shooting makes the game well worth picking up if you ever spot it at the local bargain bin. I just wish id Software stuck more to their guns. Literally. This is Lonely Space Panda of Playthroughs.com, giving Doom 3 a 3 out of 5.